This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. So I've now done a couple of gigs with the Tonemaster FR12 and I've just got a question from someone who wants to borrow it, who's kind of asking, like, is this the one to go for, you know, are you gigging this thing? And it just made me want to kind of return to it, because last week I had a gig with it and it actually kind of ended up being a little bit too boomy for the room. And this is exactly the sort of problem that I feel like the modelling FRFR rig thing is trying to get past. You know, this thing where we're told that like modelling stuff is a bit more consistent in different rooms than something like a valve amp. So this was a particularly difficult room, I guess, because it had really high ceilings but also quite a short, like a small-ish room with high ceilings, and it was like L-shaped. So I think there was something going on with that room in particular. We were in like an alcove by a window. So it's not to say that I was totally disappointed, but I was returning back to the amp quite a bit and adjusting the cut, adjusting the bass on the speaker. And yeah, so the thing with the FR12 is that this is the closest to a plug and play FRFR speaker that I've tried. I've tried the Powercab. I've been in the room with the Laney LFR, which to me didn't sound particularly special, although David Beebe swears by those, and some other people as well. What else? I've got, you know, my own PA speakers that I've tried, like various types, like the Flexis, DB Flexis 8. I've got Yamaha DXR 15s there. What else? There's the Red Sound stuff. I tried one of those as well. This to me does stand out as being the closest thing, and partly I guess because of the construction of the thing, where it is actually built from, you know, proper amp cabinet. It does have, you know, a tweeter and a normal speaker in there as well. What is useful about it is that you do have the EQ on there, because as I've found, essentially you are going to probably find that as you turn things up to volume, things are going to start to poke out and sound a little bit different to what you intended or what you found at home through your speakers. Typically what I find is that A, you want to try and get everything mono for live use. The stereo stuff, when you plug from a stereo source into a mono kind of speaker, can start to get a little bit weird, like with Helix stuff. Some of the summing to mono stuff might not work perfectly well. With the fractal thing, similar kind of things where, you know, because you've got these big wide reverbs, these big wide delays, when you then collapse them back down to mono, sometimes that can be a little bit problematic. Another thing is to have your delays and reverbs probably a little bit lower in mix for live use in general. I think that's a good principle to maintain. 3 is that you probably, if as much as you can, want to try and hear this thing at volume so that you're not getting nasty surprises when you actually play it live. And those kind of nasty surprises that I've found with other speakers have been that things sound super bright and fizzy, as well as super boomy, and like there's not much in the way of mids. This thing doesn't have that problem so much, particularly with the cut feature on it, or thing where you can actually tame the high end pretty easily. Like the Powercab, you could do something similar, but you were in a menu for that. That's what I like about the FR12, like the immediacy of it. Before the FR12, I did actually have quite a long period of using a Henriksen Bud, which is what would be the word? Just not a valve, not digital, just like an analog amp with 2 inputs in it that I used to plug into my Mesa Boogie EV12 speaker, and I found that actually that was super satisfying. And probably this is what I would say: if you've got a good cab that you already like the sound of, or that is transportable, something like the Seymour Duncan Power Stage or something like that, I think is just as beneficial probably as the Fender FR12. This is quite lightweight, which is a good thing, but so is a 1x12 cab in many cases. And so I found like taking the Henriksen Bud, which is not an inexpensive amplifier, right, but that into the Mesa Boogie EV12 and leaving the speaker sims on in my modeler worked pretty much about as well as this, maybe even better. I've done a bunch of gigs like that. I've probably still got some footage. I think in the room probably it sounds maybe even a little better. The speaker being an EVM12 probably does a lot of kind of helping. It's quite a flat sounding speaker into like a flat kind of amp with a, without, tube coloring or that sort of stuff. I think that works just as well. The other kind of thing that people do talk about, if it's important for you to have that amp in the room sound, and that a lot of pros might do, like Aaron from Intervals, is plugging into the return of a tube amplifier. Now that can be a little bit hit and miss in terms of, just how flat are those things. But what I've found is that personally I wasn't necessarily looking for the most flat sound, and that turning off speaker sims and stuff like that could lead to some really spiky situations, which I was trying to avoid. So if you are, watching this video and thinking about giving this a try, do try leaving your cab sims on as well. Don't just automatically assume that what you're told about turning those off is always the way to go. You might find, if you're like me, that it kind of works to just leave them on and plug into a situation. So definitely with an FRFR you're going to want to leave those cabs on, and even sometimes if I was going into the return of like a Line 6 Catalyst or a Katana, I would probably leave those IRs on still, because without them things get really pretty spiky quite quickly. So yeah, I think that the FR12 is still the best of the FRFR solutions that I've tried, but I wouldn't say that it's, to me, any better than something like a Seymour Duncan Power Stage with a real cab. So that might still be, if you've got a cab, the way that I might suggest going if you're considering this sort of thing. But something with an EQ on it, maybe like the orange Pedal Baby, might be a great solution as well. Yeah, don't be afraid to leave speaker cabs on. That's just what I wanted to talk about before going back to my gig on Saturday and giving this another go with the Helix. Let me know if you've tried the FR12, has this worked for you, if you found anything negative about it, and let other folks know in the comments. It's really what I mean, so that they can get a sense. I paid for this with my own money, so I'll catch you in another video soon. I was using the JCB Assman preset for the intro, and for a bit of the clip that you're hearing now, I wanted to show you with some camera audio what was going on. Cheers for stopping by. Catch you in another video soon. Cheers. I'm just plugging in here with my JCB Assman preset. I'm going to turn the bass back up. So I started off with everything at halfway, except the cut was running a bit higher. I think maybe going forward I might start with the cut all the way down, or maybe at like 9 o'clock. So here it is at 9 o'clock. It's a bit woofy when you start to turn that volume up, is what I'm finding. Preset. I think this is with the bass at like 10 o'clock or maybe like 4 in terms of out of 10. That's at 5. So that particular preset there is working really nicely. I'm going to use the headphone output of the FM3 now. on a preset that I've never tried into it before, but I think the principle is that you're going to want to have that EQ there in general, just to make those quick adjustments. Like on a gig, you don't want to go in to your preset, is what I've found, but depending on the room, you know, things may sound way more boomy, or you know, you might not have a chance to really try the thing at kind of gig volume, and things that sounded good at home may not sound so good. So that's my clean. My lead is now. I might take the bass down, and I might take, actually it seems like there's maybe like a room reverb on here, which this is my FM3, which I might take down to an even lower kind of mix. Output out of just the left. I think that's because there's some stereo stuff going on. So in terms of if I had a dummy output as well, does that solve it? Not quite as natural sounding there with the FM3 as I would have hoped necessarily. So what does that show you? Something maybe.